community from a professional standpoint. Being involved in sports as a young man, playing cricket, playing football, and being on different youth groups like Yatika, Dragon Productions. I've always been involved in youth development, but being at the Super Foundation really opened up another dynamic where you got to interact on a professional level with youth groups, schools, community activists. So it gave me a deeper insight into the aspirations of youth and then the needs of the community.
Nice. Share a little. Why was it important to name, the foundation after Michael Yatar Casabo?
Yes, in terms of naming the foundation after Michael Yatta Kazabo, it was a straightforward decision for me. Sadly, in 2011, we lost Michael suddenly, and Michael's legacy is never ending. I mean, there's not a barrier or a topic that you could speak about, and it does not involve Michael Yatta Kazabo. From employment with his construction company, he employed so many young persons within the community. And then when you go to the aspect of community development with Zeno and Sufra Youth Organization, his parent club SYO, to the Youth and Sports Council, the original formation of the Youth and Sports Council, to the numerous sports he undertook as president: netball, cricket, volleyball, track and field, debates, pageantry. I mean, it's endless, his legacy. So for me, as a young person, it was a decision that I did not have to think twice. I just felt if I was to be involved in something for youth development in Sufra, I would want it to be named after someone who has given a lot to this community. So I definitely did not want it in my name. I've done a few good things, but nothing close to what Mr. Kazabo has achieved. And being in the youth community, I formerly served as the Sufra Football League president for about a year and a half. And then I saw, being on the inside, I saw how the sports, no fault of the various organizations within Sufre, but there was a decline in terms of sports interaction and the focus of the youth. And now more than ever in Sufre, with what has been going, unfortunately, with the recent crime surge and delinquency, we felt that we needed something central in partnership with the Youth and Sports Council, Football League, Sufre Foundation, the schools, all community groups, something central that could capture the attention of the youth. So that was my main reason for naming it after Mr. Casabo. We wanted something that was community oriented, that could bind everyone together.
Thank you for that. At the recent launch, can you share with us how the event unfolded and, of course, the community's response?
Yes, in terms of the launch, I was very satisfied. We saw attendees from across all sectors in Sufre, the business community, sports community, the professionals, the school representatives. We had some persons from out of Sufre, and most importantly, we saw the young children in attendance. They sat there, they listened, they clapped. They are very interested and willing to be part of this organization. And before I came down to St. Lucia, I originally came down in January, February of this year with the intention to launch the foundation. But unfortunately, due to shipping delays, we were not able to launch it in January. And fortunate for me, we had the 8 barrels of equipment and a few bags of equipment in my garage downstairs. And I was telling my wife that we should leave it and ship it out the following week. And then I was leaving on that Monday, which was January 6th, and I wanted to delay the shipment, and she insisted that we got it out. And then when I got to St. Lucia on January 7th, which was the Tuesday afternoon, I got the call that the California fires had wiped out basically almost every house in our neighborhood, including our apartment and my wife's parents' home. So Had had we waited one day too late, there would not have been a Yata Foundation to launch. So I was very fortunate that we got it out and we could have done this launch the second time around in August. Um, so to sum up, I was very satisfied and I highly motivated along with my team, and we're excited for the possibilities into the future.
What would you say was the most memorable or impactful moment for you during the launch?
During the launch, I mean, it was just the atmosphere, the emotion. You could feel the anticipation in the room. Even before we started the actual program, you could feel that persons were excited to preview or view what was about to be displayed. And for me, it was one of the most poignant um, time during the program was when Mr. Raymond Regis, a longtime friend, teacher, and community activist of Mr. Kazubo, delivered a very, his poetic dedication to him was captured the essence of the room. And then you had Miss Eusebia Jabatis, who read a poem slash dedication to Mr. Caswell. She actually read that dedication the day of his funeral 14 years ago. And the room got very emotive. And then we had a slideshow dedication to him in video format. And then it was pictures of Michael that we had not seen in a very long time, and we got these pictures through his son, Mr. Darrell Thomas. We could have gotten some more by reaching out to some more friends, but um, those we got from Mr. Thomas really captured the moment. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that sharing, for sure. What are the main objectives of the Michael Yatta Sports Foundation?
Yes. So our main objective, basically, first and foremost, is to ensure that we preserve the legacy and memory of the late sports icon, Mr. Casbo. He made a positive and lasting impact in terms of sports and community development, focused in Soufrière, but his reach extended beyond the borders and throughout St. Lucia, even to the Virgin Islands, where I think he would have these annual sports exchanges where his club or the Soufrière team would go to St. Croix, St. Thomas, and they used to have football tournaments. So I think his reach went beyond the shores of St. Lucia. So basically, we want to create something that has equity. Very often, we have organizations, and it's limited in terms of the scope of the service that it provides to the youth of the community. And our strategic partner, the Youth and Sports Council, has been doing a fantastic job so far. So we're definitely will be partnering with them. And then another organization like the SRDF. So our mission is to support a fully functionally coaching and grassroots development initiative that will develop, and transform the sporting discipline of sports in Soufrière. So when we originally started the foundation, we launched it as a Michael Yatta Football Foundation. But based on recommendations from community activists and person who attended the stakeholder meeting, they said, why not extend it to sports foundation? Because it was not just focused on football. So we made the adjustment, and we're going to be assisting in all sports. So basically, we're going to focus on the core areas, okay? And with our vision, we're saying we want a thriving community where all, yeah, we want a thriving community where every child has an equal opportunity to participate and succeed. So with our program, we've invested heavily in sporting equipment. We're doing the initial phase, which will be football. And then after that, we're going to partner with the other organization like the basketball, track and field, netball, volleyball, and extend our reach. So basically, we're going to be a support system to help foster youth development. And we're not going to limit it to just sports. We're going to also have educational field trips where we could go to visit a museum, bring in professionals to speak to the youth about staying away from drugs, staying away from crime, um, staying in school, why it is important to volunteer. So we're not limiting it to just sports. So we're going trying to fulfill every aspect of youth development that's possible.
Nicely. Can you speak to the board of directors?
So in terms of our board, we've put together a team that's going to manage the first phase, which is year one of our launch. And then after the first year, we're going to evaluate and see whether persons want to continue or whether they would like to someone else to come in and serve in the various roles. So it will be constantly changing. And in terms of the first year, I'm only going to remain in there for the first year and see how it goes, stabilize it a bit, and then after that, hand over to the local team, but still have some oversight as to what's happening. Um, so in terms of our team, we have Mr. Kendall Alexander, who's uh, we all know him, Mr. better known as Carl. He's a football coach, psychologist, sports activist. He'll be serving as a technical director in charge of all our programming, which I'll get into later. We have Mr. Franklin Solomon, who will serve as the finance director in terms of sponsorship and getting resources for us. My wife, Stella Simon, will serve as a technological officer in terms of Facebook, Instagram, and any apps that we will need to operate. Yashela Kazubo, who's the daughter of Michael Kazubo, she'll serve as a board secretary. Kenneth Simon will be the equipment manager to oversee that the equipment, when it's rented out, can be collected in a timely manner and be accounted for. And we're starting off with 3 lead coaches, Mr. Mark Henry, who's the current coach of the Sufre team. He'll be on there as our senior coach, working with the adults. Mr. Darrell Thomas, who's also a senior coach, he'll be working with adults. And we have Gary Jean, who will be working with the younger kids, 11 and under. Um, this is just a preliminary team. We will be creating what is called a volunteer form, where members of the community, even if you don't know much or anything about football, but you want to come to the field to talk to the kids, help in the operations when we have our grassroots development days, you're free to do so once we put the volunteer forms out, or you could reach out to us. And also, like I said earlier, we're not looking at just on field youth development. We want classroom components where, let's say, like you, Mr. Epifan, you may want to do a 30-minute on media interests, how to do public interviews. You could sit with the kids and show them how to answer questions, how to position their body, speech fluency. So you're welcome to come in and work with the kids, because public speaking and expression is a very critical aspect that kids need to know how to express your emotions. So we're open to all these kind of professional services.
I welcome that opportunity. Thank you so much. How do you envision this foundation shaping the lives of young athletes in Sufre, and can I use even St. Lucia as a whole?
Yes, very good question. So in terms of our development areas, we're saying we're going to focus on 3 main development areas: technical development, which is the professional side of the leadership team and their knowledge so that they could transfer it on to the students. We want to ensure that whatever they're teaching is of a high standard, and it can be, and once you learn it anywhere you go into the world, you could use that knowledge and it will be applicable. Um, Second focus area will be grassroots development of the participants. We have no age limit. We have resources in terms of equipment. From as early as 3, 4 years old, a child can come into into the program and learn to play football. So we have equipment that cater to as young as 3, 4 years old, all the way up to senior level. And then, most importantly, our third and main area of development is positive youth development. Everything we do, we must have a focal point of youth development. And like I said earlier, we all know what has transpired in Soufrière, unfortunately, and we need to get our youth redirected into positive thinking and outcomes. So that's why in our in our long-term plan, short, intermediate, and long-term plan, we're saying we need all stakeholders to come on board. Reach out to us, whatever service you think that you can provide that could help develop, because this is a community initiative. It's not mine. When I'm dead and gone, if we work as a community, this will be here to serve the next generation of youth. And we want to know when we leave this earth, we live in our community in a better place than we found it. Um, so in terms of technical development, we'll have classroom sessions for coaches and volunteers to an extent. So they learn in terms of football, which is our first phase, how to create a training plan, how to engage with youth, um, leadership qualities. We'll have leadership seminars with our coaching team, and how to engage in team management. So we want to ensure that all our coaches are operating at the highest level. The professional barrier between coach and student has to be maintained at all times. We want to create a safe space for all the kids who come in there, so that they feel that they're in a stable and professional environment. Grassroots development, in terms of on-field training, we're going to have dedicated days, which would be Sundays, where all the kids would come to the playing field. And we have a structured curriculum that we're going to be teaching. So the coaches will not be making up information out of their heads to teach the kids. We will have a dedicated curriculum that we already have in place that they'll be teaching the kids from. And like I said earlier, we want to know that these kids are getting training and information that they could take anywhere in the world. And positive youth development, like I said, we want to know that our youth are getting engaged in positive behaviors.
Right, definitely. What role do you see partnerships with schools, again, sports club, or even government agencies playing in advancing this mission?
Yes. So similarly to what I just touched on, um, this is a community initiative, and we need all hands on deck. And in any capacity that you can help, we need you to volunteer. We all, as an organization, we will be reaching out also. We'll have an information session where we invite the schools, the principals, sports teachers, community organization, businesses, and most likely it'll be virtually, because I know persons are very busy with their own duties in work or their businesses. So the most um, certain one would be a virtual information session. So you could stay in the comfort of your office or your home and listen in. And in terms of our grassroots development day, we'll provide the kids with water to know that they're fully hydrated. We'll be providing refreshments. When kids enroll, they'll be getting a backpack with a kit in it. It'll have a notebook, pencil, sharpener, and everything they need in there. So our main area of assistance in terms of on-field operations would be the support system for the refreshments and for the kids. And also in terms of the business community, we'll be reaching out to seek financial assistance in terms of stipends for the volunteers. Um, you know, we'll most likely have volunteers who are unemployed. So as a means of encouragement, provide some small stipend, whatever it may be. And we as an organization will also be providing stipend support to our lead coaches also. So we're not fully depending on the businesses and overwhelming them, but we will play our support role also.
In your humble opinion, how do you think, this program can really help develop or nurture persons from the grassroots level, especially the delinquent behaviors?
Yes. So in terms of that aspect of delinquency, um, the various organizations in Sufre have been doing a good job for the past few years, even decades. And every organization has its strengths where we could go and do outreach at a high level. And also there are limitations and the limitations in Sufre are mainly surrounded around financial restrictions. So like the Youth and Sports Council, I've met with them, both this current executive and the past executives, and they have great ideas. But the financial limitations, I think, it's what limiting the outreach that they can do. Similarly, the football league, the schools, volunteers in the community, so in Soufre, if we could integrate our resources, so rather than everyone has an individual mandate that they have to fulfill based on their constitution, but if we integrate our resources and come up with structured curriculums or programming for our kids in Soufre, both in school and out of school, and even young adults, we can see a redirection of youth mindset within the community. So if 88.5 has a summer program where they're doing a media outreach, teach children how to do media interviews and maybe visit a site, the Michael Yatar could probably come on board and do a 1 hour session about why is it important to be involved in sports. Likewise, the Youth and Sports Council could come in and do youth mentorship and why is it important to volunteer. The Football League can do it. PMA can come in and add a field trip to that 88.5 summer program. And likewise, the schools, the teachers come in. So whichever organization that's having an event, we can come together, collaborate, and offer services, whether in person or in kind, and financial, and help in the overall development of youth in Suffolk. So that's what we're looking at. We don't want to be a standalone organization. We want to be able to partner at every opportunity that we get.
I agree with you on that. What you foresee as really being some of the pros and cons of the foundation?
Pros of the foundation, I mean, we've taken time. This has been something that we've been discussing for the majority of 2 years, figuring out how do we make this happen. And we're nearing, although we've launched, but there are still areas that we need to fine tune. So we're working in the background in anticipation for actual program start date. And what we're seeing is that the anticipation and the interest is there. So far, we've gotten almost 30 to 40 registrants in terms of young kids who have volunteered. Some of them came to the field before the launch thinking that we had already started. They were there in their gear. So we had to go to the field and tell them, no, we're not ready yet. Um, so in terms of integration of our community groups and giving the youth some a safe space to go to every Sunday or Saturday or weekdays, whatever it may be, that is the positive side that we're looking at, getting them engaged. And then in terms of the cons of the program, it would be to get, I would say not to get, but actually to get community groups fully on board. Because I think when we did a few stakeholder meetings, there was some concern that we were going to evolve into a club or try to bypass another institution. And we say, no, we're not here to take over. We're not here to infiltrate any organization. We're here to provide a support system. We're providing all the equipment to the youth, and we're saying to the clubs, community organizations, schools, private individuals, create your programming, come enroll with us. So we have a registration process so we know who's using our equipment so we could track data. Um, and we're saying, come use the equipment and better your program. So we're not here to dictate what you do when you use our equipment, but we have a process of using it. And then on a Sunday, when we have our grassroots development, that's where we teach our own curriculum. So once a week, we teach our curriculum, and the remainder of the week, the organization can request usage of the equipment and do their own programming. So that would, I think, will be the challenging part to get everyone on board. Yeah.
Okay. Um, you, as the chairman, and given that you're not always here most of the times as well, how you plan on really having that one-on-one engagement?
In terms of me not being here, Usually, I try to come to St. Lucia as often as I can, sometimes every 4 or 5 months, or sometimes every 3 months if I can. So being out of St. Lucia, I'm currently staying engaged, making calls, having meetings virtually, and our management team on the ground will be managing the daily operation. So if a stakeholder wants to have an in-person meeting or request information, our local team will conduct that aspect. Or if they need further reference, they can request that person meet with me, and I could meet with them via phone call or Zoom or whatever it may be. But I'm very confident that our local team will be able to manage operations. And like I said, um, the team down here will also be opening up for volunteers, so other person will come into the program to provide support in the areas that are needed.
Well said. We have Marie Coulon. Well done. Steve Ako just joined. He said, "Good morning, Cabrina and Chalu. Good vibrations." And thank you so much for that. We sincerely appreciate it. Mr. Simon, how do you describe Michael's legacy and how does the foundation seek to continue his vision for sure?
Like I said in my initial opening, I mean, we cannot put a barrier on Michael's legacy. I mean, it's never ended, from sports to employment to just being that mentor. I mean, there are so many young persons in Sufre that will say to you, like Mr. Raymond Regis in his dedication at the launch said, Raymond Regis is here today because of Michael Kazubo. And you have a lot of in their 30s who tell you Yatar made them the person they are today. And I was not a very close friend of Michael Kazovo. My brother Kenneth was closer to him. My brother Kenneth was always with him, along with Mansell, Carl, Raymond, Chakal, Mohan. There's a whole list of friends. Chester Alexander were very close to him, Pana. And but as a young boy, he lived one street lower down my house. And when I would go buy bread on afternoons, he would give me like 50 cents or $1 and tell me buy bread at Mysterious for him. So that was my first real interaction. And then being at the playing field on afternoons where he would conduct these sports tournaments, you would see him in action coaching SYU and his mentorship, and even in the Youth and Sports Council, how he was able to manage multiple sports disciplines within a single financial year. And that's not a very easy task to do. One sporting discipline is already a handful. And so he had his ways of management, and he was passionate, and this was someone who was selfless. If he had, well, $1 left in his pocket and you came to him asking him for that $1, he would give it to you and then figure out where he's going to make his dollar back to buy what he needed. He was selfless. And if you were to interview former friends, former members of SYO, his club, Sufra Youth Organization, they would give you stories, and you would get to 100 years and you'd still be listening to stories. Um, so that's Michael Kazubo. And like I said earlier, I definitely did not want it in my name. My job was to provide the resources, to facilitate the launch and the operations and the foundation, but I do not want any special credit for what's happening there. I just felt within myself that he had been dead. Unfortunately, we lost him that night. And actually, that night before he died, I was with him. We just attended a meeting that night, and that meeting ended around 10:30 in the evening. And then he was waiting on his driver to pick him up, and we sat on the wall next to Cots, and we were talking because I was doing a sign on the wall there. So we were looking at the sign, and I asked him for advice on how I should do it. And we sat there talking, and around 10:30, I think it was about something like that, 10:30, 11, he went home. And then at that time I was working at Sugar Beach, and the next morning I was heading down to work, and I was going down the hospital road, and I saw persons outside the hospital, and I was like, I remember asking my cousin Nigel, what's happening? And he told me they just brought Yatar in there. I was like, well, I hope he's okay. I'll go to work, you let me know. And he was like, no, he's not okay. Unfortunately, he passed away. And and I was lost for words at that moment. And I still went to work, but my mind was still processing what I just heard. And even when I came from work, I still made calls to see whether what I was told in the morning was actually true. Um, so we've lost a sports icon. Um, and if ever, unfortunately, we cannot rewrite time, but if ever we were to elect a district representative in Soufrière for either political party, Michael Kazubo would have been the district representative that Soufrière would have needed. Because I can tell you, with his selflessness and his passion for this community, not taking anything away from past or current representatives, but this would have been a gentleman who would have taken us decades into the future because of his passion and love for this community.
Well said. I got out of breath for even a moment as well to just trying to fathom everything. What message would you like to share with young athletes who may be struggling or unsure about even pursuing sports for that matter?
Yes, I would say to young athletes to continue striving, continue to remain focused. We've seen the success stories of Darren Sammy, Johnson Charles, Julian Alfred, and Miss Helena Rennie right here in Soufrière, the Kiefer Prosper, um, in track and field, Jeannie O'Neill, Nimaya St. Jean in track and field. We've had, I may have I'm missing a few names, so forgive me if you're out there and I did not call your name. But in Soufrière, we've had some really great sports personalities, both in management and on-field sports. And we need, as best as possible, this if this person will come in and help mentor. It can be for 15 minutes, you come in and speak, or 40 minutes, whatever time that you have, come in and try to mentor the next generation of youth in Soufrière. Because young people are very passionate, but they're at a certain level in their development. You get that barrier where something goes wrong and they fall off the tracks. And unfortunately, sometimes they get involved either in crime, delinquency, pregnancy, and that dream is dead. So we're hoping if the Michael Kazubo Foundation, that if we integrate our resources as a community and create a plan for our youth, and we stick to that plan and we work together, do not think that your organization is being undermined. Strength is in the integration of resources. If you try to do anything on your own, whether it's in your personal life, family life, marriage, job, most times you'll succeed, but then at some point you will start to decline. So in my mind, the more each other is a more thriving community that we will have. And we owe it to our youth. And just before I end on that point, it's an analogy that I always talk about everywhere I go. Even at my school at Glendale Community College, when I speak, I always refer to life in the Caribbean. I want our youth to have the mindset that poverty is a state of mind. Challenges are temporary. If you look beyond the horizon, you will see the finishing line. And do not compare your life to somebody else's success. You are in the moment that you are destined to be. And you now have to figure out, how do I come from step one, get to step two, and then to step three? Who are the persons that could help me achieve these steps? Who do I listen to? Who do I integrate with? What are the support systems that I can use? Because as a young man, for me, there was a period it was difficult to find jobs, and I was like, man, why can't I find a job? I see all my friends working. And then growing up, my mom was a housewife, my dad was a farmer. and I was the last of 12 children. So going to school, not to digress too much, but I think it's important that we say this. Going to school, being the last one, my sister was in Form 4. So her school notebooks would go down to my nephew, who was in Form 3. My nephew's school books would go to my brother, who was in Form 2. And then I would get the last of these notebooks. So these notebooks are to tear out pages, and use the remainder of the notebook. The school uniform, the school pants, by the time I got it, it was not maroon anymore. It was like brownish red. And then each notebook sometimes would have 3 or 4 subjects. Every 20 pages would be English, then math, then social studies. And then new school shoes, you got hand down school shoes. And it's not because my parents were poor, it's what they could have done for us. They did not have, they fed us, they made sure we had our school supplies, a house to live in, safety, shelter, but the education was more important than what you look like when you were going to school. Yes, you want your child to be nicely clothed, but we understood from a very young age that you're going to school to learn. And when it came to playing football, I never had a soccer boots, a football boots. Sometimes my feet was very short, so my brother's feet was longer than mine. So when I borrowed his football boots, I could not kick the ball properly because it was missing like 3 inches again. So sometimes I would borrow it from T. Francis or some friend who was closer. But that never deterred me in terms of where I wanted to go. And I say this to tell persons, understand where you are in life. And if you understand, you will not get jealous of what's out there to go and commit crime or put yourself into difficult situations that may unfortunately end you in prison. And it's important for parents to instill that mindset in your kids. Let them understand that I am doing my best and you need to look into life. What I'm giving you is what I can give you at that moment. Use it to your best of your ability, and I will support you along the way, rather than giving them that mindset that society is against them and you're not getting this because that person did not give you that. And, you know, teach the kids the right mindset. So when they become adults and you let go of their hand, they can become productive members of society.
Definitely. And even with what you just shared, it's the appreciation of coming from a humble beginning as well, taking the steps to get to where you need to be. As Stivako Joseph says, I joined late. Can you highlight the immediate focus of the foundation and the future projections?
Okay. Yeah. So in terms of, so in terms of the Michael Yatta Sports Foundation, in the initial conceptualization, we're focusing on football. So majority of the equipment that we've invested in is football equipment. Later on, we've made the adjustment that now um, we've adjusted to sports foundation. So we will also be providing support to netball, football, cricket, volleyball as them. So we'll be providing a structured curriculum for youth. We'll do it for our coaches will be trained professionally also. Some of them are already trained. And also, when the kids come to the playing field, they'll be getting a t-shirt along with a football uniform, shin guards, socks, and also football boots, water bottles. We'll provide refreshments, food, and also we'll have the classroom session. So, like I about positive youth development, staying away from crimes, reasons to stay in school, basically everything. And also we'll be having the component of field trips, educational field trips. So we're not just focusing on just in class or football or sports development, but the social aspect of their development. Because not every child develops at the same rate. Some students may take longer to learn and some may learn instantly. So our team also will be trained in how to engage in terms of youth development and how to provide that support service. Um, and in terms of why we decided to name it Yata Foundation is to preserve his legacy. so that his name lives on forever, and that the youth in the next generation can have an icon to look up to. So, like I said, it's not about me. It's a community initiative to help redirect the focus of our youth. And Mr. Stivako is very heavily involved in cultural development. He himself being a cultural icon along with his other SAT members. We would welcome Sufre Action Theatre to partner with if they're having a summer program and they would like us to come in and speak, or they would like some kind of assistance, whether in kind or financial, we can help partner with that. So we're saying that we need all community groups to come on board in any shape or form, and also let us know where we can help support your organization. And currently, we have a very good relationship and strategic partnership with the Youth and Sports Council, and to an extent, the Super Football League. And we're already discussing with the Sports Council programs to help in youth development in Sufre. And I would also like to take a moment to recognize the Sufre Youth and Sports Council, Ms. Bernella Arce and the team at the launch. They were one of our first stakeholder groups that we met with, and they asked some critical questions, and they're very excited. And at the launch, they help us tremendously in setting up the venue. They stayed there throughout for like 4 or 5 hours. They were helping in serving the guests when we had the refreshments after the event. So I just want to say thank you um, to their team.
Okay, Stivako wish to put forward the training program. Is it within a specific time frame or throughout the year?
It will be throughout the year. So our programming will run from October of 2025 into July of 2026. And then we'll cap it off with a summer program at every end of financial year. And that will include the field trips and on-field exercises, but also in between every quarter, we will have the field trips. So over the next 2 weeks in our information session, we'll have everything fully structured where we could show dates and timelines and how the program will flow. So we'll have a more um, detailed content to share with the public. Yeah.
In closing, I would like to ask how can people stay updated or get in touch with the foundation?
Yeah. So like I said, in terms of preparation, we're preparing for actual program date, which will be somewhere, tentative date we have is October 5th, but we're still working on some logistics to fine tune it. So today's the 11th, so we have roughly about 3 weeks before that date. So we'll have that information session within that 3 weeks, and also to meet with some other key stakeholders who are requesting more information on how they could partner. So we will have these sessions also. Um, so in terms he just joined. So our main focal area, Mr. Joseph, will be on the grassroots development day. It's where we are providing all the equipment, and then the organizations or the clubs, whether it's schools, private groups, can bring their kids to the playing field. And our team of trained coaches will be doing dedicated curriculum training. So we'll have someone there to open the session to test mental well-being of the kids with a motivational speech every session to open it up. Then we have breakfast. Then our coaches will meet and provide the content for the day in terms of a briefing. Then the kids will go out and play. They'll get breaks in between. And then also in between these breaks, we still have that little motivational 5 minute speeches to see if any kids having challenges. So it will be a constant flow of physical activity and mental support. And then we'll top it up at the end. We'll provide, if it's lunch, based on the time that we end. If it's more than 2 hours, we'll provide a lunch. But most likely we will have it. And then we have a debrief with all the kids. And then also we'll be providing transport. So for the kids who are coming from out of Soufrière, the Fontaine Jacques, Fonjoli, Diamond, Bouton, we're working with stakeholders to put together a bus system to pick them up and also take them to the venue and bring them back home. So we want to ensure that there's the safety of the kids is not just on field, but to and from home.
Your final sentiments, I mean, overall, with the launch of the foundation and to date?
Yes, my final sentiments, like I've highlighted earlier, this is a community initiative to honor our sports icon, Mr. Casvo. It's not about me. It's not about the persons who are managing um, the program. It's about community-driven development, integration of resources. If we all put our hands in the basket, we now could carry that basket lighter, or we can pick a fruit from that basket. Now more than ever, we need out to redirect the focus of our youth. And this foundation is coming off the heels of all the other organizations within Soufre who have been doing youth development. They've been doing a fantastic job over the years. you know I mean, these organizations know themselves. They are private individuals who've been doing it for multiple years, and we're very thankful for what you have done over the years. And we're basically coming in to provide a sporting support system. We're not here to manage sports. We're not here to dictate sports. We're here to say, hey, we have the financial power to provide the equipment. We want you to come in and be part of our program through the grassroots development day, and also during the week use the equipment to better your organization or to take it to the next level, wherever whatever that level might mean to your organization.
Thank you for that. And just to pick your brain a little before we leave, I mean, as a community activist as well, and given what has happened in the community, what would be, I mean, what recommendations can you make, especially to read the community of, I mean, the crime, if I must say, the gang related activities?
Yeah. I mean, if if someone has lived in Soufre, whether you're not from Soufre or you've been born here and been here all your life, you would recognize that Soufre is a community and family oriented place. Everyone knows everyone. Everyone is related to someone. So we should never say that something is not your business. And too often, we're very passionate about political issues, and I've been victim to that. We're very passionate about supporting our political party to achieve a means. But when it comes to community development, we sit back and say, oh, ça va, ça fait moi. Kita yo fè sa yo vle. But we find time to integrate for political ideologies. And we need to put that same passion into community development, work with one another for the betterment of the community. Because these young people, they have great ideas, they want a great future. Sometimes crime becomes the default occasion or priority that they fall into. And most times when you speak to them, that's not what they want to do. They want some guidance and they feel like the system has let them down. So if we have the knowledge, the financial resources, we need to come together and redirect these youth, whether through classrooms, staying in school, parenting, sporting development, public speaking, theater. We need to bring Soufriere to a level of understanding where everyone understands their role. And to end on that point, there's something I always say to persons also. Your success is very good. It stands alone. Your family will enjoy your success. But if you have the biggest house on the hill with all the fancy amenities and you have 3, 4 cars, and next door to your house, there's a family living below the poverty line, rat infested, prostitution, drugs, you will say, oh, that's not my business. Ça pas affaire moi. C'est ça, ça fait pour être la vie, so ça y est. But when your son or daughter goes to school, who's in the classroom with your son or daughter? It's that child or more than one child from that household who unfortunately their parents don't have the means to give them a better life. And they come into that classroom, and if they know drugs, they're going to introduce it to your kids. If they know prostitution, they'll introduce it. If they know vulgarity, if they know negative um, um, ideology, they will introduce it to your child. So it's not good enough to say that I have succeeded and I'm on my own and I'm going to enjoy my life. When you make it up the ladder, look down the ladder, see who else needs a helping hand to go up that ladder. I'm not asking persons to take your money and blast it wrong so for saying you're helping everyone, because you also will have your financial limitations. But remember, at one point, you were in that same situation that that family was in. We know what poverty is. We know what struggle is. So we must not pretend that once we've succeeded, that nothing else is our business. So I say all that to say that if we take a holistic look at our community and have empathy for those who are less fortunate, we can have a thriving community where we could redirect our youth into positive behavior.
Thank you very much, sir. It is now 3 minutes to 12 noon in Surface and Lucia and the rest of the Eastern Caribbean. It's been immense gratitude to have this insightful conversation with you. Johnson Simon, founder chairman, Michael Yatar Sports Foundation. We look forward to more dialogue. To those of you who send in your comments, I want to say thank you so much. Mr. Maricolo, Miss Maricolo, and of course, Stevako Joseph, as always, my darling. Thank you so, so much. If you have any goodbyes, it is now your time to do so. Your family, if anybody is celebrating, you can just say happy birthday to them. Just leave on a nice note.
Yeah. Thank you once again to you, Miss Cabrina Epifan, for extending the invitation for me to be on the show and speak about the foundation, and also to your team at 88.5. Um, a couple persons I forgot to mention, and I think it's very important that persons get their due recognition. Um, the district representative, Miss Emma Hippolyte, we've been in conversation for the past 2 years, a phone call to see how we could get this off the ground, because I wanted it to be a community initiative. So strategic partnership with the SRDF community, the office of the district rep, sports councils, and name it. We needed them to be on board. So she was instrumental in facilitating the clearance of the equipment from SSDF. So she mobilized her team there and also mobilized the team at the SRDF with Mr. Oje, who paid for the shipment of the equipment to Soufrière. And Mr. Monsieur Francois, we stored the equipment at the foundation for almost like 6 months till I got on island to get it out. And also Mr. Kendall Alexander and his wife, Mr. Raymond Regis and his wife, my family, not forgetting them, they've had to put up with all my stresses about getting this done and all the phone calls to get them to do things while I'm away. And I thank them for the support system in my upbringing. Being the last, they took very good care of me. I had my limitation as to what I can do and engage in, but I'm thankful that I am who I am today. Mark Henry, my good friend, Gary Jean, um, Solomon, Mr. Franklin Solomon, who am I missing? Miss Bernal Alsey, Mr. Michael Bob and his team, Miss Cecilia Clovis at the primary school. We had our stakeholder meetings there, Mr. Lester Casobo. And if I missed out on your name, I'm very sorry, but I do appreciate everything that you've done to bring us thus far. And thank you, and let's make this happen for the community of Sufra.
Thank you. On that note, this is where we officially say goodbye. Tata Uva, it's been immense pleasure. Julita Marius, good one, good vibes. Let's make St. Lucia ours. Yes. On that note, thank you so much again. It's now 2 minutes after 12. What a discourse it has been. Thank you so much, Mr. Simon. Let this just be the beginning of our conversation. And looking forward to bigger and better things for the foundation and not just the community of Surfeit, but let's look at a holistic development, of course, I applaud what you're doing. I applaud the team as well. And yes, my involvement, the best possible way that I can, you will get that from me. Victoria
Yeah.
Daisy, great vibes. Pray that it will not fail. Used to work at Sulphur Springs, now live in Tampa, Florida. Well, officially, I'm signing out. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Take care of yourself, and we will continue the conversations via the necessary platforms. To have yourself a productive one. Thank you
Thank
again.
you. All right.